What's up? We're back with Scrambled Eggs and Ram. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Kun.
And today we want to get into a discussion about game reviews and their importance in gaming today, and what's changed about game reviews since, we usually relied on them very much so in the early days, like when gaming magazines were a big deal, and in the late 90s when gaming websites started to become more of an influence, game reviews were really important back then. But I feel like that's changed a lot in the industry, you know what I mean? Like, game reviews are less important now than I feel like they've ever been, and what's sort of coming in and replacing that is Let's Players and people doing like actual like homemade videos of gameplay, and that has become more of an influence now than professional reviews. What do you think?
There goes the word right there. That's like, I think like sort of like the issue I have with just reviews in general is just saying it's professional. Right. Like, I don't know. I mean, is it really that professional? It's like, I feel like a lot of the game reviewers are just like mostly like they like games, right? I know they enjoy games, right?
Right.
But like, it's just like, I feel like it's not being taken like professionally, like back in the old days, like back in like the magazine stuff. They had like spreads of the worlds, and they outlined the world and how to like, they even wrote guides and stuff.
Right, yeah, okay, that's true for sure, and maybe it has to do more so with time, because back in like the 90s when game reviews were done in magazines, like the dude or the girl, whoever that wrote that review, probably had months to play the game,
right? Or at least like a couple weeks, man.
Yeah,
well, they do.
Amount of time.
Like the magazine came out once a month, so at least they had a month to like really play one game.
The thing is, though, magazines when they were doing reviews, I mean, back in the day in the 90s. Those magazines would come out like a couple of months after it was actually completed. So, yeah, like so. Let's say like a May edition of a magazine came out. That May edition was probably completed by March, sometime in March.
Right, and then they just added like small things, like if the new news come out, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So it was like that stuff was already done way ahead of time. Nowadays, I feel like there's a lot more pressure because the gaming sites. They're putting out a review of a game. I mean, they're putting out a review the day the game comes out, which the magazines tried to do, but the people reviewing the game aren't necessarily getting the game until maybe like a week before the game comes out.
So they only had a week to review it.
Right, so they don't have a lot of time to review it, but also, like, game reviews seem to have, like, fallen from sort of like this high spot where people looked at a game, like let's say back in the 90s when Electronic Gaming Monthly was hot. If I don't know, if a new Street Fighter came out or a new Mortal Kombat came out and it got like a 6, or something like that, people would just be like, oh man, like,
and then just talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, right now it's like I feel like a lot of game review sites are just clickbaiting you.
Oh,
they want to just like. I mean, of course, they have pressure to make money and to keep their site alive. I mean, take a look. Yeah. Oh my God, Joystick's
done.
It's just gone. Yeah, I'm just like, I can't believe that happened.
R.I.P. Joystick.
Yeah, because like I feel like Joystick, out of all like most of the the big gaming review sites, right, aren't as clickbaity. And I feel like they're not trying to start controversy as much.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like they just want flame wars. I think the best thing to happen is just flame wars.
That's true. You're right. I think you're 100% right about that. But is that really a bad thing though? Flame wars can be fun sometimes.
Yeah, it can be fun. Definitely.
I get into some flame wars.
Right. But then it just makes me the reviews itself. I just don't feel like they're as trustworthy. So I mean, for me personally, like I only would play a game unless I wouldn't judge a game until I actually play it.
Okay, that's fair.
Game reviews is a good starting point, and then after that, it's just like you gotta look up, like people playing it. You gotta go to YouTube, maybe watch someone play it.
Well, that's gonna bring me to my next point. Is like, do people even give a shit anymore what a review is? Because like, if I want to play a game now, right? Let's say a game. If you want to get a game day one, that's a little bit of a different story. But let's say I come home from work one night and I'm like, yo, I want something new to play. And I have an idea, right? Let's say I'm thinking about picking up Dragon Age. I can just go if I have it on if I'm looking on PS4. Let's say I can just go on Twitch on PS4. And I can watch like 1,000 people playing the game, and then that'll tell me I can literally see them in game, and I can judge based off of that. Like,
I feel like that's a much better way to judge a game. Like just let's try to read an article about it, and someone saying, "Oh, they like this," it's still an opinion, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And then again, they didn't play it for like months or like the weeks, or at least, you know, they have like only a couple hours or something.
That's true. That's true. But now, when you look at it like that, a professional reviewer, though, they know certain things that your average YouTuber or the average Twitch streamer or whatever doesn't necessarily know. Does that give them more credibility? Because they understand more about the ins and outs.
If they're talking to like the professionals, like the actual developers, and they actually know them, and they actually talking about maybe game design too.
Right, which in a lot of cases they do know these things. They do talk about these things.
But like, I don't know, man. See, like I make games and everything.
Right,
I work in the game industry.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, a lot of the reviewers, they don't know shit. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yo, we shouldn't say stuff like that because like now everybody's gonna think we hate.
Oh, okay, no. Game reviewers, I feel sorry for them because they really don't have as much time as they should, like on these game reviews. You know?
Right.
And sort of like, it's good and bad because like, oh yeah, you get the review right away. You kind of know like maybe you want it or not. You know? Right. And you know, it helps build the hype. It helps build the excitement and everything.
Or it could destroy the hype as well.
That's true. That's
true. What I mean?
That's true. You can't mask a bad game.
That's true to an extent. Then that brings me to another good point. Now, all right, so a lot of publishers are now looking at game reviews, kind of like what we're talking about, and they're saying like we don't need these motherfuckers anymore. We don't need them. So typically, what has been the case in the past is a game publisher will give a review copy to an outlet like IGN or to RIP Joystick. They'll get it a couple weeks before, and they review it, and then they have what's called an embargo set up, which basically is an agreement between the game company, the publisher, and the reviewer saying, okay, you get an early copy of this game, but now you can't talk about it until this date or this time or whatever, or until you know we've gotten to this point. Now game companies are looking at it and saying, you know what, nobody values these reviews anymore, so fuck it. Like, we're just not going to give you a review copy. You know, for instance, Dying Light. Dying Light just came out. There were no review copies sent out for Dying Light.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That shit.
That was insane.
So there was no review embargo. They even came out and said like, hey, you know what, guys, we're not doing review embargoes. Fuck that shit. You know. Yeah, but then they just didn't send out a copy of the game. So now the reviewers, the outlets like IGN and whatnot, they don't have the game until the game comes out, and now there's no reviews on day one of the game. Right. So someone like you or me who's thinking of buying the game, we don't have reliable reviews to go to. So what do you do in that case?
I go to Twitch.
You go to Twitch.
That's what I do. Exactly. Or YouTube and stuff. Or just having like, you know, just talking to on forums like with everyday people, you know.
The NeoGAFs and whatnot.
Right, exactly. Like a lot of like, here's the thing about reviewers too. They look sort of like professional reviewers, the one professional, right? The thing is like
games journalists.
Right. Game journalists, right? They live in this sort of like their own kind of world almost, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and they're sort of out of touch. I mean, it's the same thing with any kind of profession, right?
Yeah.
Like even like book authors, like even game developers, even myself. Sometimes I like, you know, I lose touch with the
general audience, the general public.
Exactly.
Right.
And I just do what I do and say what I want because really it's just my opinion, and that's what it comes down to. Is like sometimes like reviewers or myself included, right? I say things like opinions that are facts, you know, or I'm making my opinions sound like they're facts.
You state it as though it's a fact.
And it's not. It's like, you know, it's an opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure.
Sometimes you gotta put that out there and just say like it's your opinion, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I think some reviewers do that. Some reviewers do say, you know, like, hey, this is how I felt about the game.
Right.
Some people may not have necessarily agreed, but this is my view on the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If there were more reviews like that, that would be great.
That would be better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, like with so many Twitch streams and YouTubes and other avenues or whatever, I mean, reviews are becoming, like we've said, you know, less and less relevant. Do we get to a point now, like in the case of Dying Light, where publishers are just like, fuck it, we're not worried about what the reviews are. We're not worried about Metacritic. We're not worried about any of that. We're just gonna put the game out, and the people will decide.
Right. I think, you know what? I think that's a better way to do it.
You think so?
I think so because, like, honestly, like there's a lot of games out there that I think are, like, probably are really pretty fun, but they're just, like, reviewers don't give a shit about them, you know? And I feel like...
Like Destiny?
Like Destiny.
Destiny's an example of that?
Destiny as a game, as just gameplay value, it's really good. It's really well balanced. It's really well designed.
Mechanically, it's very well put together.
Right, exactly. And that's what games are. It should be fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
But the only problem with like the biggest problem with Destiny is like content wise. You know,
right.
It's not so.
It's like a third of a game.
Right. Reviewers who've talked about that, they're pretty spot on about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, still, it's a still fun game, and you know, I still go back to it.
Right. Okay. Well, all right. Here's another thing I wanted to bring up. Now, let's say we've established now that YouTubers or video streamers in general, they're now sort of leading the charge about what games should be viewed as. You know, we're not worried about Metacritic. We're not worried about IGN. We're not worried about Polygon. We're worried about what are the streamers saying.
Right.
Okay. Now, does that get to a point though where someone's integrity is called into question? A streamer, let's say a popular streamer, takes a few dollars, you know, from someone like Activision or EA, and now all of a sudden, you know, they're saying the new Madden is way better than it actually is.
That's the thing why I like. That's the thing about like all this whole thing about streaming. It's because like they can say, "Oh, this is fucking good," and then they're playing it, and you're looking at it like that doesn't look fun.
Right. Okay. So you're saying it's easier to call them on bullshit.
Right. Exactly.
That way.
Exactly.
Whereas
I mean, it's also people like there's one game doesn't fit everybody. There's no such thing. All right. So you can watch it and you look at it, and this guy thinks it's fun, and then you look at it, it's not so fun. And it's not your game.
Dark Souls, for instance, that game shits on my life, dude. I can't fuck with Dark Souls, but people love it. People love Dark Souls. It's like I guess it's kind of like crack addicts love crack. You know, it's destroying their lives, but they still love the crack. You know, it's like
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, like look at Madden. Like I would never play Madden. It looks like a boring ass game because it's the same game over and over again.
Right. It's always like new stats. Every year it's just like some new players, and you know maybe we put a little extra coat of shine on there.
Right. Millions of people still buy it. Millions of people
$60
still
every year. You know, when you think about it, Madden's almost like a subscription. It's like you $60 every year. You pay it.
And then you just update the stats.
Yeah,
that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. Maybe the graphics too, but that's about
slightly.
It.
Maybe over the course of several years.
I can see them sweat.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So you got anything else to say on this topic?
Have
we exhausted? Let's just real quick. If you hear about a game or you see a trailer or whatever, like what's the process that you go through personally from being notified of a game's existence to buying the game? Like, what is it that gets you to buy the game? How do you go about doing that?
For me, it's like, okay, first off, like I like seeing the videos, the trailers and stuff. You know, it's like, oh shit, maybe I want to check this out when it comes out. Like,
at
least
that's
like
the first thing. You catch a trailer and that's like, okay, that got my eye. Now what?
And then like I wait for it to come out, and I wait for like maybe a couple of weeks. I don't buy on day one. I don't pre-order. You know, and I
that's
wait
a whole other conversation.
Yeah, let's not even like talk about that. But like, I just wait for like see what people say. Like I look at reviewers too. You know, they start as a base, and it says, oh, they don't like it or they like it. Okay,
so that's starting,
cool. Right? And then I just go on YouTube and watch people play the game. You know, and watch or Twitch and just watch people play it live or whatever. And then I said, oh shit, I like that mechanic. I like this mechanic. And then after a while, like I'll also check out if my friends got the game too.
Right.
And then I watch them play. And then if I think it's awesome, then I'll buy it.
Okay. You know? Gotcha. And see, I go through a similar process. You know what I mean? Like if I read an article about a game or a concept of a game, you know, and it catches my eye, I pay attention to that. You know what I mean? I check up on it. You know, I go back, I read some more articles, I read some previews. You know, I get pretty deep. And then, you know, as trailers come out, that's when you start putting the magnifying glass. You start saying like, okay, what's happening in this trailer? Is this appealing to me? And then, you know, I actually like to read reviews, but the thing is, like, I don't have like one necessarily a reviewer that I always go to. I read you know, a decent amount of reviews. But even then, you know what I mean? I pay attention to the details in the review. I don't listen to, like, whether there's no review that's just like, this game's shit, this game's good. Right. You know, it's always like, these are the things that worked in this game, these are the things that didn't. I pay attention to that. And if the things that worked are appealing to me, you know, then I go a little deeper, I check out some videos. But the main thing for me is word of mouth. Like, what I hear from my friends, what I hear from people online, you know, in the forums and stuff, that's really where my decision gets made. With what I read about other users, what their experiences with the game, that's what convinces me to buy a game.
Yeah, no, for me, that's where it comes from too. It's like, you know, it's like if everyone's like liking this game or liking this mechanic that I also think is awesome, then I'm gonna get it. Like, reviewers is like, right now they're just a starting point, you know?
Right.
And the thing is, like, also,
They're the starting line, not the finish line.
Right, but I'm seeing this more often. I know that we're going on way too long about this right now, but I just want one more point. It's like, I feel like reviewers these days are also, they're looking more at the content versus the gameplay, and not really like reviewing the game as a game. They're reviewing the game as like, what's in it? What is it trying to say? What's it trying to do? It's like trying to, I mean,
like a film almost?
Yes, almost like a film. And I'm like, you know, games are games. They should be fun first before they're like trying to tell a story. You know,
I can see where you're coming from.
You know, and I mean that's just my own personal opinion. That's like you know, as a game designer, a game developer, I think that's way more important. That's what makes games games.
Yeah, you know? I could agree with that. I mean, some people probably want to take in the whole package, you know, and that's reasonable. Right. But I mean, the basis is what you're talking about.
I mean, you know, games as art is really cool, but I think sometimes they're just taking it a little too much, and they're taking it way too seriously.
So they just think of games as games, and then from there, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. That's how I feel like if any reviews start off like that, I'll pay more attention to it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
all right. So that's going to wrap it up for us here at Scrambled Eggs and Ram. Hope you guys enjoyed our discussion about game reviews and the state of the games industry when it comes to reviews. I don't know. You got anything to add to that?
Yo.
Medieval times.
Woo!
Yo, medieval times is good times.
Right. And I gotta say, the food is simple, but the food is
actually so good. I had no idea medieval times, like, whoever they got cooking in the kitchen there, like, they know what they're doing. Like, I'll go to medieval times, like, I'll just go for lunch. You know, like, I don't even need to see the show. Like, I'll go to medieval times just to eat, and then I'll take off. Like, that's how
they have, like... Actually, like what they do is actually pretty like crazy, like how they prepare the food. But you know what? That may be a different conversation.
Yeah, we talk about that more later. The food is actually really legit for the money.
Right.
The show was great. I mean, what more can I say? I mean, Medieval Times is good, clean, wholesome family fun.
Yeah, like, if you just want to scream for no reason, it's a great place.
You just want to see some guys fight with swords, and the actors are actually pretty good. You know, I went to Medieval Times when I was a kid. I remember having a good time, but I knew years later, I was like, okay, it probably wasn't as good as I really thought when I was a kid. And then we went back, and it was just like, this is better than I thought. Like, they stepped up, if anything. Like, they probably put more money into it.
It's kind of like, you know, like, as a kid, you know, you remember, like, a lot of amazing things, but watch it as an adult, it's just not as cool. But this Medieval Times...
Medieval Times holds up, man.
Fucking awesome.
At least the one in Jersey does.
Fucking awesome.
I mean, I
can't believe we just said that. The one in Jersey.
The one in Jersey. You really can't say that about shit else. You can't say anything else about that. But the Medieval Times in New Jersey... Yo, those guys know what they're doing. They got it together.
I need to go Medieval Times, California. I want to go Medieval Times.
Yeah,
not Florida. Florida's just full of crazy people.
Yeah, I'll just go. I'll go for lunch.
Toronto. Whatever. Yeah, man.
Toronto. There's one in Toronto.
Yeah, there's one in Toronto.
Damn, we need to get up to Canada. Right. Not right now though, because it's way too cold. Yeah. All right, so we'll catch you guys next time. Hit up in Medieval Times when you get the chance.
Later.